Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into some recent, pretty serious cyber attacks that hit major UK retailers.
Yeah, we're looking at reports covering Co-op, M&S, and even an attempted attack on Harrods back in May.
Right. Our goal here is, well, to understand what actually went down, why things played out so differently for Co-op versus M&S, and what lessons, maybe even surprising ones, businesses like yours should be taking away.
Absolutely. What's really interesting is how these events show, just how vulnerable even big names can be. And critically, how the response matters just as much as prevention.
Okay, so let's set the scene. These attacks happened around the same time, May 2025. And there's a group claiming responsibility.
Yes, linked to Dragon Force. And they weren't subtle about it. They apparently told the BBC they were already seeded in Co-op's network before anyone noticed, planning to deploy ransomware.
Seated inside? That's quite chilling.
It is. It suggests they weren't just, quickly breaking in. They were established. The sources suggest maybe tactics like Scattered Spider or Octotempest.
And the attackers themselves. Any details?
Well, interestingly, they used aliases like Raymond Reddington and Dembe Zuma, references from that TV show The Blacklist. Their stated aim, to put UK retailers on their own blacklist.
Huh. So, but theatrical.
A bit. They're also described as operating an affiliate service, kind of renting out their tools and potentially being quite young English-speaking individuals.
Okay, so young, English-speaking, using sophisticated methods, and already inside the networks. That's the threat. Now, Co-op. What happened there?
Well, Co-op spotted the attack basically happening live, and they made a huge call.
Which was?
To take their computer systems offline, just shut it all down.
Wow. That must have caused chaos internally.
Oh, absolutely. Empty shelves, logistics nightmares, you name it. It was immediate, painful disruption. So much so, the attackers actually complained about it.
Complained? What?
Yeah, they reportedly said Co-op had yanked their own plug, messing up their own sales and logistics. They were sort of, annoyed. Co-op stopped the ransomware deployment.
The attackers were annoyed. Co-op limited the damage. That's something.
It really shows the impact of Co-op's decision, doesn't it? Experts, like Jen Ellis mentioned in the analysis, see it as a really sensible, though incredibly tough crisis move.
So, short-term pain to avoid a much worse long-term disaster like full ransomware encryption.
Exactly that. They chose disruption over potential catastrophe.
Okay, now let's contrast that with M&S. Their experience was different.
Very different. While M&S hasn't explicitly said ransomware, the cybersecurity analysis strongly suggests they were infected. And they haven't denied it.
And the fallout.
Much more prolonged. Weeks later, they were still dealing with the consequences. Online orders suspended, problems with payments, stock issues in some stores, just ongoing trouble.
That sounds incredibly expensive.
Massively. One analysis, I think, from Bank of America estimated the cost at something like £43 million per week.
£43 million a week.
That was the estimate. Plus, they had to admit customer data was stolen, phone numbers, addresses, birth dates. They had to warn customers.
So, Co-op acts fast, takes the hit, limits the damage. M&S seems to have been hit harder, facing huge costs and a data breach. It really highlights the difference response makes.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And maybe hints at differences in underlying security posture too, perhaps, but it really drives home this bigger point. That cybersecurity isn't just, an IT issue tucked away somewhere. It's fundamental to operating the business. The potential damage isn't theoretical. It's millions of pounds. It's customer trust. It's your ability to function.
So given attackers might already be inside, what's the practical takeaway for businesses listening? What can you actually do?
It has to be layered. You need strong preventative stuff, obviously making it hard to get in, but you can't stop there.
Right.
Regular penetration testing, basically. Hiring ethical hackers to find your weak spots first is crucial. And advanced tools, things that can spot weird activity inside the network, detect those lurkers.
So strong walls, constant testing, and internal alarms.
Pretty much. And compliance is becoming less optional, too.
Right.
Things like Cyber Essentials Plus, maybe ISO 27001. These aren't just badges.
They're becoming requirements.
Increasingly, yes. Especially for partnerships and supply chains. Nobody wants to connect their systems to a partner who might be easily compromised. It's just too risky.
Makes sense. A real wake-up call, as you said.
Definitely. These attacks show just how fast digital problems become very real, very expensive headaches.
So wrapping this up, what does it all mean for you? Well, the Co-op and M&S stories give us a stark look at today's cyber threats. They show that preparation, and sometimes really brave decisions under pressure can make a world of difference.
It really forces a key question, doesn't it?
Which is?
In a world where attackers boast about sitting inside networks before they strike, how do businesses balance that constant need for connection and smooth operation with the absolute necessity for rock-solid defense?
Finding that balance.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's the core challenge for every connected business right now. Something to think about.